Right, guys, I want to talk about Anne Widdecombe, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Hi, everybody, welcome to 42 Podcast, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything. I'm Sally Ann.
I'm Navida.
And I'm Toby Jones.
Toby Jones, not just Toby.
aka Clint Eastwood.
Or Joe 90.
Neither of which I particularly identify with.
Sally,
Right,
why do you
so-
like about Anne?
So when we were talking about, we're deciding what we want to talk about. The reason I want to talk about Anne Widdecombe is because it's something that has sort of come out of left field for me, how it's affected me. And it's affected me more than I would say a lot of these sort of celebrity deaths. And the reason I think it has is because even though I'm not somebody that would ever follow her politics, and I'm certainly not somebody that is agrees with organised religion, and she was very religious and she had very strong views about both of those subjects. I always thought of her as quite a charming lady in a sort of rough around the edges way, but one of those people that if you had a dinner party, I'd quite like to have her there because I think I'd enjoy debating with her. A lot of people on the news who knew her saying that she did not mind people disagreeing with her, and I think that's a great quality. If you're going to have strong opinions about something, I think that what's charming is the ability to accept that people aren't going to agree and engage in healthy debate. And just before we sort of go on and maybe discuss it, the one thing that surprised me, out of all those things about her that I didn't disagree with, however, found her quite a charming character, I found out that she was a very strong advocate for banning fox hunting, which is very close to my heart. So, it's interesting. You can disagree with...
Haven't we already banned fox hunting? Or is that another discussion that you want to go on
We
to?
have, but yeah, that might be a different discussion. Yeah, supposed to be. So yeah, I just wondered if anybody else had been as affected as I was. I was very sad. I didn't think she, I don't believe anybody deserves that. Whatever their, politics is. Not even the guy in
Nigel
America.
Farage. Oh no, Donald Trump.
It deserves to be murdered for whatever. I mean, we don't know that she was murdered for political reasons. We don't actually know at this point why, but what we do know is somebody travelled from South Yorkshire all the way down to Devon to do it, so it wasn't a random act. It feels very much like it was deliberate, and I just find that just incredibly sad.
It is sad. It's interesting you picked up on that as a topic because I know when Anne's it was kind of flicking up in the background on Facebook. Anne Widdecombe's passed away at 79, and then somewhere else you caught a little bit of she died of multiple injuries, and that's when I sat up a bit and I thought, and she's 79 or something, quite senior.
68, I think.
And I was like, by that age, you expect to die in your bed, in your sleep or something. So I was like, that's just not right. Just not the way the world should work. That somebody so old should go in that way. And then over the next few days, it developed into trying to calm nerves to say it's a white person because they don't want to kick off any riots.
Yeah.
And it's
Well,
not
they always say the colour of the person, though, don't they?
yeah, which is
Regardless.
fair enough because you want to nip certain speculation in the bud.
bud.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they said it's not a terrorist at the moment, but I think at the moment they think it might be a terrorist
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
That's
So
the latest.
yes, that's all.
Yeah.
So she didn't deserve the whole whatever happened to her. And a lot of things, there's a but coming up that people will be like, but, and I don't want this to come across as a but. For me personally, I was trying to get my head around Anne Widdecombe, the person, because I'm really glad to hear what you had to say about her, because it kind of opened up another side of her. In my head, I had pictured Anne Widdecombe,
Widdecombe.
Wid-
Widdecombe.
Widdecombe as Barbara Woodhouse.
No, far
Been
from
dead
it.
for
I
decades.
thought it was the same lady. I thought she was talking walkies and now she's in politics, and I'm well confused about this woman. But she irritates me. Her voice is all... So I'm probably loving her more now that she's passed away and I'm hearing all these lovely stories about her than when she was alive, and I knew the little I knew of her. She used to grind on my ears, the way she talked.
Is this Barbara Woodhouse you're talking about now?
No, Anne Widdecombe. It's just in my
Anne
head.
Widdecombe.
I thought she was. I thought her previous life was Barbara Woodhouse. I
So
connected the two people into one.
I may have sort of been more aware of her outside of the political sphere because, you know, I have on occasion watched the odd reality TV program, and of course she did Big
Strictly
Brother,
Come
and she
Dancing
did
as well.
Come Dancing, or Strictly Come Dancing, or whatever it's called, which I don't watch. I actually sort of saw most of that about Anne Widdecombe on Gogglebox, funnily enough, but you know that sort of showed a different side of her to a lot of people. You know, the human side.
Her showing me a different side to her.
Yeah, the human side to her, and you know, realising she actually had quite a good sense of humour. I mean, to sort of send herself up like that, you know, I don't think anybody was necessarily laughing at her, but because she was able to send herself up and, you know, own up to her inadequacies, especially when it came to the dancing programme, you know, certainly for me, I warmed to her as a person outside of politics and religion.
I am warming to her with the more I hear about.
It's
from
a bit
people
late,
like
isn't it?
you.
Just a little bit, Toby, yeah.
It's a bit late to warm to her since she died on Wednesday, 6 days ago.
Better late than never. I
A
could have still-
posthumous warming to.
Well, no, I think. For
No,
me,
I agree, Navida, better late than never. Well,
I mean, I,
not for
I
her.
don't. She wasn't my cup of tea, but I'm still sad what happened to her. It's no way I would have wished it on anyone.
You can't not feel sad about anybody that dies just because they don't meet your
Absolutely,
specific political
absolutely.
persuasion. Otherwise, what? I can't feel sad for that person because they
I think
didn't vote blah 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 the last general election.
I don't feel sad about everybody that pops up, and there's been quite a few recently on the news who've died. It was more because, one, it was murder. Two, it was a 78-year-old woman who, love her or hate her, was a national treasure, you know, and I was actually really shocked that somebody like her, sort of larger than life and so vibrant, would come to an end like that. And it just seemed wrong, so wrong. Not that anybody's murdered is right, but it was just so wrong.
Okay, so you said it suddenly struck a chord and you felt very sad that she died. So I will put it to you that did you know Dr. Michael Mosley,
Yes, same. That made me
famous
sad.
BBC doctor presenter? Now that struck me. I mean, you know, I
Yeah,
didn't
that was sad.
cry or anything, but I thought, oh, that's really sad because he was a really genuine. It came across really genuine personality, out to help a lot of people. Obviously, he was a doctor and he was on TV, got paid for it, and he had this Fast 800 diet program, which he obviously got paid for and all the rest of it. But he was just genuine, appeared to be a generally nice guy, and somebody who was a doctor looking after people's welfare to just go out for a hike in wherever it was, Cyprus was it, or was Greek island somewhere, and to die because of the fact that he hadn't taken a hat and he got lost and dizzy and died in the heat. It's just like that's really bad, isn't it? So
that same for me. That affected me as well, because we used to watch his programs, and again, sort of a national treasure, you know, very well known, and like you say, sort of philanthropic, or seemed to be, and yeah, that was a pretty awful end too.
I like the way you're using the word national treasure, because I wouldn't describe neither of them as national treasure, but they are people that I think Anne Whitcomb hardly knew her, obviously even mixed her up with someone else. It's just the nature of the killing, whether it's her, whether it's Joe Cross. If it is politically motivated, we've got a big problem on our hands. It shouldn't happen. This kind of stuff definitely shouldn't happen. But they both, both of them, as their deaths, more detail came out. It did hit a chord of humanity that, she's 79, 78. This shouldn't happen. He's a doctor. I don't want to say he should have known better, but is it ironic that it should happen to him?
Well,
It's
that's
kind of
what made it
irony.
all the more surprising that it happened
Yeah.
to him, because you'd
Yeah.
have thought he would be the person going on television saying, "Well, don't go out hiking in the midday sun, especially on a Greek island." And what did he do? He went and did exactly that.
I
Yeah.
wonder whether he didn't think he would get lost, Whether
But I think it was the sun that, I believe that it was the sun that affected him, which made him get lost, because he became dizzy and disorientated.
One and the other. So, Sally-Ann, obviously you've been quite. You said this hit you. Would you say hit you hard, or it's made you? Is it made you been thinking about it? What is it about? What's it done to you that you felt the need to talk about it?
Well, I think first and foremost made me very sad.
I'll go without that.
And then that made me question my feelings about it. I don't know the lady, and am I just sad because she's a celebrity? But that's not the case, because, like as I said, there are many people who pass away, and it doesn't. It's a bit of a like, oh, that's a shame, and then off I go again. This one's actually has made me take it in and think about it, and I'm not like sat there like crying my eyes out, or it's not affecting my day-to-day life, but I am very sad about it, and I kind of felt the need to talk about it.
Fair enough. Okay, what would you like to talk about when you say talk about it? Is it just this? Is this it? Just what we're talking, or is there a particular thing?
I think to lead on from that, if this is politically motivated, then, as you've said, I mean, we know there's a problem already. So we've already had 2 politicians murdered, and now potentially the 3rd politician murdered. If it proves to be the case, it was politically motivated, and that's incredibly worrying in this country. This might sound bad, sorry to any Americans out there, you kind of expect that sort of behaviour over in America, and not so much here, but we have for decades now been following America and American trends, and I find that whole thing very worrying as well. And now it seems that we're, there are certain people out there that think it's acceptable to murder people because they don't agree with them politically, and
that's an interesting lead-in to say, would you have assassinated Adolf Hitler if you could have?
Yes.
There we go. That's political.
Yes, that's very true. I think yes. I mean, you would have to go back in time to do that, because at the time you wouldn't have known, and nobody knew until after the event.
Well, I mean, they were
just
trying to kill
how
him
bad
in
that was.
the late 40s. I mean, in 1944, would you have assassinated him if you could have, given what you know in history up to that point? He'd invaded many countries, caused lots of deaths.
Yeah, but
Surely in 44 you would have liked to have assassinated him.
if I was living in that at that time and it was 1944, from the programs I've watched, nobody was really still aware at that time until the camps were liberated just how bad it was. So I think in hindsight, and from today's standpoint, if somebody was given an opportunity to go back in time and take out the younger, I mean, there's been a program about it, isn't there, already? It's
Probably.
and So I think in terms of the amount of evil that that man was, I think most people would probably say yes if you could avoid what happened. Um, the you can, what level of evil, this is something you need to talk, what level of evil do you think is acceptable to do that? Because we have somebody who is currently alive who I think is incredibly evil, or um, I'm trying to think of the word, just basically self-glorifying, deluded, etc., etc. But even that person doesn't, at this point in time, give him time, deserve to be murdered for being, dare I
Well,
say,
I
an
mean,
asshole.
what about Putin? What
Same,
he's done.
same.
I don't think any of them deserve to be murdered, Adolf
No.
and Putin, but I think the structures around them need to bring him down, and I can't
Yes.
believe America hasn't brought him down.
Yes.
We know who we're talking about, Trump. He should never have been made president. For America to let him be president, for me, the structure's not working. For Adolf
But
Hitler,
I mean, to be honest, it's a reflection on a lot of the people that vote in America. You
right.
get a lot of people that think like Trump in America.
Well, when
So
you
I
say
mean,
a lot, there was a lot of people who got lied to and were naive and stupid enough to believe his lies, and then you've got the people who actually
it's
are
always
like
the way,
him.
isn't it? Yeah.
But
Yeah,
they
the
still
ones,
do, and that's the bigger sin. Even
the
now,
ones that like him are not really that, not the
But
majority.
the
I think,
the ones that like him, most of them say, yes, we put up with his faults. He's a bit of a personality. Maybe he's got a few personality faults, but he gets stuff done. That's what they like about him.
and currently he's trying to start World War Three. Yeah, well
just
done.
coming back
I
to
don't think
Anne,
intentionally, but he might well do accidentally.
just coming back to Anne and Joe Cross. For me, I found it interesting
Who?
that Joe Cross was one of the
Labour
politicians
MP
that
that
passed
got
away.
Oh,
killed.
sorry, Joe. Yes.
So Joe Cross came across as very peace-loving, united. We're all one big happy family. I guess she was left of Labour to a certain extent. Left of Labour in my head is pro-refugee, pro-immigration, pro happy people. Well, not happy people, but yeah, definitely left of Labour. But somebody still took umbrage to that and stabbed her. Yeah? And this is somebody who's not inciting violence. This is not somebody who's raising, she's in the background trying to do a good job for her constituency. And then you've got Anne Whitcomb, who's on the right side. She has every right to talk about the politics that she does. I'm great she banned fox hunting, but she was also, I think, in the Farage
She didn't.
camp.
She
And-
didn't ban it. She supported it. She didn't ban it herself. She was a big advocate for it.
advocate for banning it, or
For it being banned, yes.
for it being banned. Yeah, so yeah, there's silver lining there, but I get the impression that she okay, if she talks straight, by that I take that as she's going to offend people as well, then isn't she? If she's talking straight, and if she's
I think you're
Farage camp-
talking. I think I can see what you're saying. Jo Cox was a lefty, and she was all nicey, trying to be nice to everybody. Whereas you're saying Anne Widdecombe is maybe a little bit aggressive, assertive, and wants things done, and so she will offend people to get it done. So she was more, perhaps, would irritate more people than you think Jo Cox would. But I think you're completely wrong. I think that's just because you're naturally a kind of a lefty yourself, and so your values go more towards Jo Cox than Anne Widdecombe. So other people would equally be offended by what perhaps Jo Cox thought and did. Maybe bringing lots of migrants into the country and giving lots of welfare to people that are disabled, that aren't actually disabled, they're just faking it. All that sort of stuff is perception of other people, and they will get angry about that. So I think you've got to realise that your own viewpoint before you say this one is okay to be murdered because she might have been a bit aggressive, and this one, why was she murdered for? Because she's so nice and friendly. You've got to think
no,
about
Toby,
yourself.
let's rewind a bit. I totally agree with that I'm more left leaning and I'm more likely to, line with Joe Cox. I said Joe Cross incorrectly. Than Anne Whittingham. Totally get that. But it's natural for somebody who speaks softly versus somebody who speaks really aggressively to attract different types of attention. And I'm talking about just at personality level. For me, Anne Whittingham did grind on my ears. Forget about even her politics. Jo Cox, I never heard her talk, but I know that she's left a legacy of have tea parties, bring people together.
Don't like her voice. Kill her.
No, I don't know why you two are jumping to the kill them, because I'm not advocating killing either of them, okay? I'm not advocating killing Adolf or Trump. I'm not advocating killing anyone. All I'm saying is that these two personalities were so different that we live in a world where there are individuals out there that have taken it upon themselves to end a life because they have hit a raw nerve with them on something.
Okay, we can't talk about Jo Cox
and it's open to interpretation.
and Anne Whittingham without talking about the other politician whose name I don't remember. Hopefully one of you two intelligent people will remember him.
I can't remember his name, wasn't it?
The third one.
Yeah.
Wasn't it a guy? He was Tory, wasn't he? He was Tory, I
I
think.
think so, yeah.
And he was quite old as well, actually. I don't think
No, he
was
wasn't
that
actually.
one.
He wasn't that old.
Younger than Anne, older than Joe.
Yeah. But again, I mean, I actually had never heard of him prior to him.
No, neither.
Yeah.
I'd never really got to know all three
Well,
of them until after they died.
and by all accounts, listening to the news reports of him, he was a very much liked person.
Yeah.
So
I just feel like MPs really put themselves out there, and personally, I have hats off to them that they put themselves out there and try and make a world. I know there's going to be corrupt MPs, but there's corrupt people in all walks of life. I don't think that's particularly, that politics is cleaner than we expect higher standards from politics, and unless you put in framework to keep bad politicians out, you're going to get bad eggs in there. And look at Trump, he's a perfect
David
example of a
Amos.
bad egg that's
Yeah.
made it up to the top.
sorry, it was David Evans. I knew it was David something, but I wasn't
David Evans, the
confident.
third guy, is it?
Amos.
Amos, yeah.
I'm getting names right. But no, I'm definitely not advocating killing Anne or anyone. And on the whole, like Joe more than Anne,
Good to know.
because maybe I'm more of a lefty than a righty. Yeah, I'll go with that. But I wouldn't have thought there's got to be somebody who's divisive versus somebody who wants integration. I think the integration would upset you, but the divisiveness is aiming to stir up certain emotions. You don't think
No.
so?
No, I don't agree either. I agree more with Toby.
Fair enough. I've got that is an interesting one, because are we so culturally no longer like I don't know. I just think it's very it's a messy world where we don't share a moral compass. What we're saying is we don't share what we think is morally good or
But
bad.
you're always going to get murderers and rapists and burglars and all the rest of it, aren't you? There's always people like that.
Yes, but I mean, how many times prior to the 2020s have you, or do you remember politicians in this country being murdered?
There's always been assassinations.
There has, but I think people haven't
Recently,
been
though.
as accessible. So somebody in Yorkshire may not have known Anne Whittingham the way they know her now.
I mean, especially now as well, obviously with all the social media and Facebook and all the rest of it, it's very, very divisive. You're either, against or with, aren't you? So the nature of social media stuff is either you upvote it or you downvote it, and then however you vote or whatever you look at, whatever you're interested in, then it gets reinforced. So any beliefs that you have gets reinforced on the social media platform, and this makes you even more assertive in that direction. Sorry, Sally Ann, you wanted to come
No,
in?
I was heading towards that whole social media um, talk as well, and I was going to say, um, I was going to say that I hate banging that same drum, but it does make sense that the breakdown of moral society, the sort of melting of that hardcore of of us, of who we are as British people, and the sort of stiff upper lip and all that, and just get on with it sort of thing. It does hark back to social media. So I mean, maybe that's another conversation for another time, where we sort of maybe dive a bit deeper into how social media is negatively impacting as well as positively impacting. In my particular thing, I'd be sort of really interested in it from the British side. We could talk about the whole world, which we'd be there forever, but how it might be, how it is sort of uniquely affecting Britain and British people, and this kind of whole like murdering. My husband did remind me of the 1984 Brighton bombing, though, as well, where the Conservative conference was blown up. But again, that was the 1980s, and that was a very active terrorist group, and it was, it wasn't
That was a
it
guy
wasn't terribly far away.
when I was 11 as well. There was that Conservative, on a boat, wasn't it? Conservative MP was shot. It was that, so that would have been in the, like, 1981, 82? No, 80, 81, maybe 79. Anyway, yeah, throughout time
Yeah,
there's
it's
always
always
been
been there.
assassinations and shootings, and so I don't think it's anything new. It's just maybe it's you become more aware, perhaps, because every day you see people that are dying for whatever reason, natural causes, or I mean, like just was that newsreader died yesterday, didn't he? Of prostate cancer. What's his name? The
Oh,
Scottish
Dermot
guy,
Moynihan.
Dermot Moore.
There was one
Irish,
after
isn't he?
him though
Scottish.
as well, wasn't there?
Just
Another
coming back to
person died as
handwritten,
well.
guys, because I think we need to wind this down a bit. Are we good, Sally Ann? Did you get to talk about her enough?
I got it off my chest. Thank you, Navida.
Oh, good. I think at the end of the day, no one deserves what happened to Anne, or Joe Cox, or David Emin.
Amos.
Do some people deserve it? That's a different conversation. Right now, as far as I'm concerned, I don't think anyone deserves it. But you have to have the framework in place to make it, put the structure in place to make sure that, at least at this point in the moral compass we are aligned on, is that this shouldn't happen to Anne and it shouldn't happen to Joe. Where we'll be in trouble is what's happening in Trump's world, where it says, oh, it can happen to Joe, but not to Anne. The minute we start dividing, like, who can it happen to and who it can't happen to.
Just to be clear, we have a law that disallows murdering people, so we do have a framework in place to stop killings happening.
We do, but I wonder whether, like in America, Trump's like, well, I could kill anyone and get away with it. Well, he has. I'm pretty sure he has. So America's obviously, their framework is squeaking like anything, because there's people getting away with things that Joe Blogs cannot get away with. It's two different rules applying to different parts of society. Thankfully, in England, it's not so obvious or in your face or bragged about.
I wouldn't go as sweeping as that. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, they probably governments kill people all the time. And just look at James Bond, for goodness sake.
That's an assassin, yeah. So we're not talking about assassin. We're talking about people who openly. When we're talking about Anne dying versus Joe dying, the outcry is the same. It should not happen. When you look at the outcry in America for was it Kirk? I've forgotten his name. Kirk versus a lefty. The outcry from the right side is sympathy for their side, but no sympathy for the other.
Oh yeah, well that's a yet another issue, isn't it? I was going to bring up, but
and I'm saying, thankfully, here we haven't got to that level of weak fabric in our society, because I think that's something to hold on to. That I might not have liked Anne's politics, her voice, or whatever personal. I didn't really know her very much to say it, but Anne and Joe, I knew the same level, but Joe I leaned towards, maybe because I'm more lefty. Maybe she spoke to me. Anne didn't speak to me, but I didn't want either of them to go the way they did. And I don't think that applies across the world, that people feel the same towards somebody losing their life like that.
What strikes me is, are we winding it up now, or is that it?
We are. Okay. So thanks for listening. If you like it, give us a thumbs up. And if there's anything you want to talk about, let us know. Bye from Navida.
Bye from Toby.
Bye from Sally Ann.